Smoke clouded the city of Reno, Nevada, as the California King Fire was set ablaze across the Sierra Nevada. On September 13, 2014, the devastating California King Fire ignited in El Dorado County. In the process, the fire grew to the size of a city larger than Las Vegas. The first response unit on scene was the Camino Cal Fire Station 20. Arriving within minutes, Nick Morton and Bo Santiago were two of the first firefighters to try and contain the fire.
So it started, the origin was at King of the Mountain Road, which is up in Pollock Pines, and it spread down towards Fresh Pond along Highway 50, was a pretty big area it spread, and then the major portion of the spread was it actually went and crossed Wentworth Springs, Poho Ridge, and made it to a place called Hellhole Reservoir, and that's out pretty deep in the National Forest, and it takes a while to get there, and it made it a long ways.
By the time they had arrived at the fire, it had already scorched 3 acres, and the weather conditions made it nearly impossible to contain. As a result, the King Fire blazed 97,717 acres of land, second in California this season, only to the Happy Camp Complex in Siskiyou County, which burned through 135,369 acres of land between the California-Oregon border. Every other fire in California this season pales in comparison to the enormity of the King and Happy Camp Complex fire.
The fires in El Dorado County, this is the biggest one in history. The last big fire we had was the Cleveland Fire, and that was 28,000 acres, and that was the biggest one we've had in history here. So this by far is one of the biggest that we've had. We've been to bigger fires than this, but this is by far our hometown, and this is the biggest fire we've seen.
But in regards to California state history, these fires don't crack the top 10 largest wildfires in the state. The Happy Camp Complex fire ranks 16th, and the King Fire is in the mid-20s. In total, the King Fire burned down 12 homes, 68 minor structures, and cost over $53 million to fight it. With over 7,500 firefighters from all across the country coming over to aid El Dorado County in combating the fire, there was tremendous admiration and support from the surrounding communities and residents, thanking these firefighters for their service. In all, nearly 3,000 residents were ordered for mandatory evacuation. David Silva, a resident of Placerville, California, was only about 2 miles south of the fire.
We weren't, in any of the evacuation areas, but if it were to jump the river, we would have had to evacuate. It was very concerning because, your house is always in jeopardy. When it comes to a fire, you can't stop a fire that size. So if it jumped the river, it would have been very concerning. But I think in watching the way these guys are handling the fire, it was pretty comforting watching those guys tackle that fire with all the air support and stuff.
As of October 9th, the fire was finally reported to be 100% contained, and residents were allowed to move back into their homes.
We're grateful for the land that we live in up here, and unfortunately, it's always going to be changed now.
With the story, Travis Boudreau.